What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight we are in the shop and we're going to be working on the LJ. So if you're new to the channel, this is my 2005 Jeep LJ Rubicon that I did a Dana 60 swap in the front with coilovers, long arm suspension from Barnes, and the rear is a 14 bolt with a 4-link triangulated system, and I stretched the wheelbase about 9 inches. So I know a lot of people have had issues with wiring, PCMs, wiring harnesses, stuff like that on these 2005 and 2006 LJs. So I've been chasing a wiring issue and a PCM issue for a couple of years now, and I just kind of deemed it as, well, it's just a 2005, 2006 LJ, I'm just gonna deal with it. So what I was having was, sometimes whenever I was off-roading, or the Jeep would start missing and check engine lights would pop up, start flashing. I'd have to cut the Jeep off, take the terminals off, hold them together for like 30 seconds and then reattach them, and everything was fine as long as I just quit, beating on it. And like I said, I just kind of deemed it as, well, I'm sure it's just one of those Jeep things. Well, I drove this Jeep, in one of my past videos, I drove this Jeep to Uwharrie. Me and my little boy hopped in and we drove about 4 hours west to go to Uwharrie National Forest. And on the way back, I started having a little bit of issues, check engine lights. So another thing that I figured I was getting some check engine lights and wiring issues from was from my supercharger. So I did put a Sprintec supercharger on here. And after I did that, I started having issues with the computer, go figure. But, so I had to send it to Sprintec, they reflashed it, sent it back, everything was fine. But I really think what my problem was right here. So I went ahead and took my battery out just for the video, but check this out. So I was looking at this, and this is the negative cable that goes into the wiring harness right here. And watch this. It was barely connected. So for like 3 years, I've been trying to chase out electrical issues with this Jeep, and that's all it was just the crappy wiring terminal from Jeep. Whenever people ask me, hey, I've got this issue coming on, I always ask them, what does your battery cables look like? What condition are they in? And I always, tell them, that could be a big issue. Why I never thought to check mine, I don't know. I guess it's, what's the saying, the cobbler's shoes are always the worst, or some crap like that.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
So I have put JeepCables on the TJ, the XJ, and then a couple other Jeeps that have come in my shop in the past couple of months. And so I reached out to JeepCables.com and I was like, hey, this is what I have going on. And I showed them pictures of the wire pretty much coming out of the terminal, and they were like, no problem, we'll hook you up. And so I've got the Big 7 TJ kit, which will obviously work on the LJ because it's the same thing. It's basically the TJ Unlimited. And look at this. They even wrote me a little note. Hope this gets your TJ back on track. Thanks for supporting our business. You guys. So what my plan is tonight, I don't know if I'll finish it tonight, but I'm going to start on it, is to show you how to solve a lot of your electrical issues that you may be having by putting the Big 7 kit from JeepCables.com on your Jeep. If I'd have done this years ago, I would have never had issues. I never would have to set my computer off to get it reflashed or whatever. It's kind of frustrating, but then again, it's kind of humorous that I've been telling people to put them on their Jeep when I don't have them on mine. So I'm a little embarrassed, but I'm humble, and I'll be honest with you, I just never looked. So if you want to eat me up in the comments and tell me I'm a terrible mechanic, that's fine, I'll take it. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna start getting these JeepCables on. You can see here all the makes and models that they make these for. The XJ, MJ, the YJ, the TJ, LJ, JK, WJ, ZJs, all kind of models. They even make them for the Renixes. How about that? So let me show you everything that comes in the kit here. And like I said, this is for the TJ, so it may differ from other makes and models, but all right. So it does come with sweet stickers, most important thing. And see, it does come with new battery terminals, and these are labeled for positive and negative. Let's see. Yep, so there's positive. I don't know if you can see the P right there. And then there's an N on this one, so positive and negative. Then you got some fuses, you got a fuse block. And another cool thing about these is that they're all labeled. So this is the battery negative, and this is the firewall negative. It's right there. Then you got, like, this one's like starter, and this one is battery positive. So you can't mess this up, which is really cool, especially for somebody like me who likes to do things twice. But see, all these are labeled. So engine block, and then you got like fuse. So this one obviously goes right here, and this one goes to the fuse block, the factory fuse panel on the Jeep. So that's basically everything that comes in here. The only thing that you may have to do is figure out exactly where you want to mount this, but I'm sure a couple of zip ties will work. But anyway, I'm going to start tearing apart the factory wiring harness and go ahead and get these in. So the first thing that I'm going to do is come in here and get this old nasty wiring harness all tore apart. I've got all these kind of separated a little bit, and you don't have to separate them. You can honestly just take them out as one, but I like to do it one by one just to make sure that I'm doing everything correctly. And you can see there's not a really good connection in there either. Yeah, that's got corrosion in it. You see the green on the wires. If you're doing this yourself, just double check to make sure that you do not have anything hooked up, like battery cable wise. So go ahead and take your battery out. But I know it's kind of like a dumb thing to say, but I feel like I should say it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this nut off the alternator. It is a 10 millimeter. You can see it's got corrosion in it also. So pop that off. Just let that fall, and I'll pop the nut right back on. That way I don't lose it. The next wires that I'm going to take off is under this cap here. I'll be taking off these two 10 millimeter bolts, nuts, whatever they are. And pop these off just like that. Alright, I'm just going to put those back on. So this wire is completely disconnected. So I took out this wire here, and this is the wire that ran from the battery to the control module here. And look how gross this is. See how it's just, the corrosion's just flaking off, and you can see the corrosion goes down into the wire there. Like when I took it off, it was like Desert Storm coming out. So that wire's no good. And I was running that for like years. Alright. So this is the wire that failed right here. And I'm just going to tear this apart just so y'all don't think that I snatched it out just for video purposes. Not that anybody on YouTube would do that, but so it was clamped down, just not very well. Let's see if it'll focus. So that's what comes factory from Jeep. Garbage. Absolute garbage. Now I'm going to get a little bit more involved. I'm going to take off the engine block ground, which is right there. I hope y'all can see that on camera, where my finger is. So I'm going to take that off. Alright, so I apologize. This is the best I could get the camera angle in here. But this is a 13 millimeter, I think. And I'm going to reach in here and try to take it off. Ow. The next bolt that I'm going to take out is the firewall ground. It is that 15 millimeter right there. Like I said, it's just on the firewall. So I'm going to pop that out real quick. So just going to take this bolt out, and I'm just going to pop it right back into place, just like that. Now I can pull this wire up. So this is the one that wasn't broken right there. But let's see how much stress we can put this under before it comes out. Like I said, this is the factory wire from Jeep. It's in there pretty good. Ugh. Yeah, I can't pull this one out. I don't know what situation where your cables will be going through this much turbulence, but wait. Oh, yeah, corrosion. So this one was stamped the exact same way as the one that failed. So the only one now that I have left is the positive that goes down to the starter. So I'm going to get under the Jeep to do that. So up under the Jeep here, it's very hard to see. I'm just going to take the 13 millimeter nut off of the starter here. Let's see if I can get y'all in there. There is a washer. Pop the washer back on. And then I'll put the nut back on. And then we'll start the assembly process. Since I already have my tools down here, I'm just going to walk over to my table and look for the wire that says starter. Go ahead and grab that. Just feed that down where I can reach it. Kind of hang it right there. I'm just going to take the wire that says starter, put on the starter, and get the lock washer on. I'm really sorry about these camera angles. Alright, so now I just got to tighten that 13 millimeter nut up, and then I can get back to the top of the Jeep. So the next thing that I'm going to do is go ahead and assemble this fuse, and it's simple as just taking the washers and the lock washers and the nuts off and popping it right here. I'm just going to throw the 200 amp on here. I don't know. So this one I need to put on this side, I probably should do this on the Jeep, but I just kind of want to show you how simple it is. And then this one right here should be the other fuse. I may have to switch these around, but go ahead and pop this on. The lock washer, and then the nut. Do the same thing on this side. This will kind of give me a feel of where I can put this in the Jeep where it reaches everything. Just kind of give me an idea. So this side goes to the alternator, and this side goes to this post right here, or one of these posts right there on the fuse block. The best place that I found to put this on this Jeep is right here on this grill support rod. It's kind of perfect. This cable right here will go onto the alternator, and it does have like a little cover plug. Alright, so got it seated all the way down. That way I know I've got good thread engagement. Just going to tighten that up. Alright, got that as tight as it needs to go. Now that I have this hooked up, I know it'll reach. And this right here fits right on there. But I will have to do a little bit of trimming on this. So I will have to do a little bit of trimming on that plastic right there. And that's just so the wires aren't fighting each other for fitment in here. So I'm going to pop that little dude right there. Tighten that up. That's 10mm right here. So this one goes to the battery positive place right there. You see we've got plenty of room. I'm gonna pop that little dude right there. Tighten that up. So since these wires are a lot larger than the factory wires, I did have to modify this cap right here. Once again, it's just cutting brittle plastic with some wire cutters. And so now that's on there and it's not contacting anything, it's not wiggling. So that's cool. But I'll go ahead and put this little plastic cover on here. It goes just like that. So if I ever have an issue, all I have to do is pop the hood and look to see if I've popped a fuse. And then of course it's got these little covers that go over like so. So that's really nice. All right, now I'm going to start getting some ground wires in. So I went ahead and popped the ground wire on the block. Couldn't really get the camera in there, but you get the idea. So now I'm just going to take this firewall ground, if I can find it. There it is. All right, now I'll get my tools. Got that tightened down, and I did try to clean the surface area so that way I know it has a good ground. I'll probably zip tie all these wires up. So I've got all the grounds in. I did throw the battery in, so now I'm going to take the new terminal that comes in the JeepCables kit. You see it has an N right here. I'm just going to pop on all of the grounds. So this is actually my winch. That one. I may have to reroute this one just up under there. So I have the ground on. I don't have anything tight yet. And then this is just a ground for my little trickle charger. So now I'll get the positive on. I think it's over here. Aha. So that'll go just like that. And then I'll get the wires on it. And we'll start to wrap this up. I've pretty much got everything where I want it. Got the fuse block, in the area where I want it. I've got all these wires ran. I do have to just zip tie a couple of loose wires, just kind of out of the way. But everything on this seems to be good. I'm gonna put my air cleaner back on, and we're gonna see if we get any check engine lights. So before on this Jeep, like I said in the beginning of the video, like whenever the Jeep would start running rough, I would disconnect the battery terminals, hold them together, and it would start running better. My check engine light would still instantly come on, obviously telling me something was wrong. And so I'm really hoping that I don't get any check engine lights whenever I first start this thing. But if I do, I'm still gonna put it on here, like I said, just being open and honest with y'all. So, wish me luck. And one more thing before I forget. So in the kit, it does come with an extra cable that goes from the battery ground to the fender. I do not have one of those just because I did the high line and I don't have anything ground to my fender. Well, I don't have a lot of things ground to my fender, so I'm probably not going to install that one. So everything is buttoned up. I did close the hood just to make sure that I have clearance right here. And I do. So hopefully this will crank up. Make sure it's in neutral. All right. Ha! No way. Holy crap. That is awesome. Oh. See, normally a check engine light would have already popped up by now. Y'all just don't know how happy that makes me, and honestly how dumb that makes me feel, but it's fixed. That's all it needed, probably for like 5 years, was just some decent battery cables so it can make a good connection to the rest of my Jeep, like the computer, and because that ground was probably affecting the spark plugs, injectors, all of that is pretty much ran by that ground on the block, from what I understand. So you might be asking what's going on with the TJ. So I'll kind of give you a walk around of what we got going on. I'm not filming this. I didn't think it was video worthy, but after all the fabrication and everything, probably should have filmed it, because honestly it's been a lot of work. But so that Rubicon axle that we put in, it had a truss that went all the way across right here. Well, I'm sure you have noticed that this Jeep had a pretty tall rod height, and we wanted to lower it. So we lowered it, and then we started having all kinds of issues. So that truss, whenever we got it to the rod height that we wanted, was probably about this far away from the oil pan right there in the center. So what I did was I cut it out and just kind of reworked everything, re-welded it, and just plated it back up. So also we did notice that this truss really wasn't welded on that great. So whenever we bought the axle, it already had the truss on it. It had already been welded, and one of the welds right here was cracked. So what I did was just heated it up, welded it, and then did the post heat and everything, and then I did some more welds, and then there was no welds on the back, so I put in some stitch welds on the back. And hopefully we'll have this Jeep all back together so we can do one more wheeling trip this year. May take the LJ out one more time this year too. So, been busy in the shop. Sorry, I should have recorded this, but like I said, I didn't think it was like content worthy or whatever, but I didn't think I was going to put this much work into it. If I knew what I know now, I would have definitely recorded it, because it has been a chore. But I'm going to be putting some trusses and stuff on here in the future. But anyway, guys, I really appreciate y'all watching me install the Jeep cables on the Jeep. I'm glad y'all were there to see that this actually did fix my issues. I know I didn't really record the issues that I was having, but I can promise you can ask my buddies, this thing was running ragged for a while. And honestly, I haven't been driving it a whole lot because it was having all these issues. I was really worried that I was going to have to replace this wiring harness, and I don't know. It's just been really worrying me, so I haven't really been, messing with this Jeep. But let me know in the comments, do y'all want to see more of the LJ? So if you have an LJ and you're having wiring issues, I definitely recommend getting some Jeep cables just to see if you're having the same issues that I was having. I appreciate y'all watching, and we'll see y'all on the next one.
Please take whatever precautions are necessary to prevent this terrible disaster.